Welcome to the Fierce as Fuck podcast. I'm your host, Amanda King, and I'm here to teach anybody who wants to fucking listen how to have the audacity to say fuck it to societal standards and live their most authentic life. This podcast is dedicated to bringing sexual conversations from behind closed doors onto the main fucking stage. Because sex, masturbation, squirting, guess what? It's all fucking normal. And by bringing these conversations to the forefront, we help people feel less alone in this world. We help them feel safe. We help them gain their power back, step into their confidence, and have the ability to express themselves authentically as fuck in this world. Because it takes fucking audacity to be your truest self. And we have boatloads of audacity up in this bitch. So let me ask you this. Are you ready for some epic shit? Hello, everybody. Hope you're having an amazing day today. I always feel like since we have shifted the podcast episode, I feel like our podcast intro should be like Salt and Peppa's. Let's talk about sex, baby, all the time. It just literally is living rent-free in my head right now. So one of the subjects I really wanted to talk about on the podcast, because I spoke about this on my Instagram stories a few weeks ago and could not believe the amount of engagement I received from this story push. And it is all about dirty talk. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be discussing dirty talk on this podcast episode today, because I feel and I have noticed that a lot of women don't like dirty talk. And I think and believe that this is because they don't actually hate the dirty talk itself. They hate how dirty talk is presented from the male gaze. They don't like how men overtake dirty talk. They get too graphic with dirty talk. They come too hard, too fast, no pun intended, with dirty talk. And so what really inspired me to do this Instagram story push was one day I was on TikTok and I saw a video of this woman acting like she was dirty talking with a guy she was dating. And it had a like the top of it said like what he thinks I'm doing while dirty talking. And she's like doing the descriptor of like masturbating. And she's like, what I'm actually doing. And she was like sitting in the kitchen, just like typing on her phone. So just like bored with it, so done with it. And I thought to myself, how many women experience dirty talk from that like disconnected sense of like self, right? How many women actually make dirty talk about the man rather than the woman? How many partners think that dirty talk is supposed to be about the other person and not themselves? And it got my brain kind of going and like, why do we do this? Why especially do women feel the need to, one, fake dirty talk, right? That's almost as bad as faking an orgasm. Number two, make dirty talk all about their partner rather than being about them. And number three, shy away from dirty talk and get almost cringed out, right? When the male says something that is cringeworthy, because we have all had those moments, my friend. We have all had those moments when having dirty talk that a guy has said something and it literally makes you want to die inside. It makes you cringe. And one of the reasons that I think so many women actually tend to go towards adult fantasy novels and adult romance novels is because they're written by women from a women's perspective. So the dirty talk written in these books, if it's like 3 chili peppers plus, tends to be dirty talk written by women. And women get turned on by dirty talk written by women because we know how to speak to each other. So what I wanted to do is kind of discuss like the difference between how dirty talk is presented from a female gaze versus male gaze. And also, I kind of want to give you a little, I guess it's a trick or a tip or something that I use or used to use and still kind of use during dirty talk if it gets a little cringeworthy, right? So let's talk about men, because that's where this has to start. Men are more visual creatures. This is why porn is built the way it is. If you ever watch porn, and if you haven't, I highly suggest you watch a porn, not just for like the act of getting off, but so you can actually see what the male gaze is, because it's so fucking predominant in porn. A lot of porn that you see that are done by male directors are very visual on the aspect of the male's pleasure over the female's pleasure. So you will get a lot of like dick shots, right? You will get a lot of shots of like the camera being so far up this fucking girl's pussy that it's practically popping out of her mouth. You will see I would say the grittiness. I don't want to call it dirty, but like the grittiness of sex. You barely see the pleasure of the woman unless the pleasure is over exaggerated, which we've spoken about on past, say that 10 times fast, past podcast episodes. And so porn is really from the male gaze, which is, I want to watch the man get off, right? It's not really about the woman. It's about the guy getting off and the actual physical visual act. Now, women, we are more imaginative creatures. We use our imagination when getting off rather than needing visual stimulation. So, for example, this is why a lot of women read books, because in the books, we can read it and then we actually imagine it in our head like a story, obviously, like a movie or something along those lines. And we are able to get off to our own imagination versus needing something to be visually in front of us. And there are women directors who do porn. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of her. Erica Lust is a female director who does porn for women. So there's definitely porn out there, but even her porn, the reason it's directed towards women is because her porn has a storyline. Right? You follow two people through this intense story that eventually leads to sex. She gives you some context rather than just jumping in or it being some fucking pizza delivery guy that is like, oh, you don't have $10 to pay for this pizza? I know how you can pay for this pizza. Let me stick my dick inside of you. Like, her actual porns have a plot. They have story. And this is also why audio porn, which I never heard about, but this is now becoming a thing apparently, is so prevalent among women, because it's all about hearing the person talk in the background, and it's mentally stimulating for women. And so women can imagine it rather than seeing the visual in front of you, because sometimes the visual doesn't live up to what your imagination can actually do. And so when it comes to dirty talk, a lot of dirty talk is first and foremost presented by men first. Men are usually the first ones who bring it up, as in like, hey, I would really like to like explore this dirty talk. Or it can be even like the sexual innuendo in the conversation all of a sudden leads to dirty talk. But a lot of men tend to be really aggressive with dirty talk. And I'm going to get very, I will put this in quotes, air quotes that you cannot see, vulgar with some of the shit I'm about to say. So like, trigger warning, explicit warning, iTunes, we're about to say some real fucking shit here. So when it comes to men talking about dirty talk, a lot of the stuff you're going to hear from men is going to have to do with their big fucking dick, right? Because they always got to talk about their big fucking dick. They always got to talk about coming on you in some way, shape, or form. Men are obsessed with their cum, and it's got to be on you, whether it's your tits, whether it's your ass, whether it's inside of you dripping out. Men love to talk about their cum. They are going to make the dirty talk about them, right? So rather than saying something that is like, I want to like bring you pleasure, they're going to say something like, I am going to tie you up, and then I am going to put your mouth on my big hard cock, and then I'm going to make you suck me off, and then I'm going to come on your tits. That is how men present dirty talk. And as women, that can be excessively off fucking putting, right? Like, first and foremost, they're putting their pleasure above your own, and successful dirty talk is equal pleasure. So men will come hard, no pun intended there either, but they will come hard when it comes to fucking presenting dirty talk. They are even going to do foreplay with dirty talk. They're going to start talking about, they're going to stick their dick in some orifice of your body, pump real hard until they come, literally all that they got in them. If you can find a guy who actually does like storybook kind of dirty talk, hold on to that motherfucker, because that is some gold shit. But women, like I said, we get turned off by that because it's too graphic, especially too soon. Think about even with sex, right? A man can jump into sex as soon as the act begins, right? A girl takes his shirt off, he can go. He's ready to go. A woman needs enticing, right? A woman needs foreplay. A woman needs a little bit of seduction, a little bit of teasing, a little bit of anticipation in order for her to participate in the act of sex. So dirty talk applies to those same fucking rules. With dirty talk, men, and if you're listening, men, get a notebook, get a pen. We're about to drop some fucking knowledge on you right now. I'm about to make your dirty talk the best dirty talk to the point where women will fucking flock to you. But men need to chill the fuck out with coming at dirty talk with this aggressive behavior and start making dirty talk more sensual, because that's what it's supposed to be. Dirty talk is supposed to be about her, gentlemen, not about you. If you actually want your significant other to participate in dirty talk, then you first and foremost need to make it about her and less about your pleasure first. Don't worry, you're going to get off. Men, it's so easy for you to get off. Like, we get it. You can get off in like 3 minutes. Women, we need some enticing. We need some foreplay. So men tend to come at it a little too aggressive, while women really want them to come at it slowly. Even think when we think of the act of sex, right? It's foreplay. Then it's typically thrusting at a slower level at first, and then we get harder thrusting, and then we get climax. Dirty talk has to work the same way, gentlemen. If you actually want your partner to legitimately participate in the dirty talk and not just fake it. And ladies, my ladies, you should never just be faking dirty talk. That is almost as bad as faking a fucking orgasm. You should not be sitting there and participating in dirty talk that isn't going to get you off. Hands fucking down. And so if you're listening to this and you're like, I fucking hate dirty talk. No, you hate the way it's being presented by men. And I'm going to help you with that right here. But number two, you should always be engaging in dirty talk so that you get off, because your fucking pleasure matters when it comes to this, ladies. It's not all about him. It's about you too. And I want you to feel empowered as fuck in your sexuality and in yourself to be able to dirty talk and get yourself off. So with men, we are going to have them come at you kind of aggressively. So certain things that I do as a woman is, if I want dirty talk, I am going to start the dirty talk. I am going to set the pace and the tone of the dirty talk. So I am going to send something. I'm going to make up dirty talk off the top of my head. So if I am horny one day and I'm like trying to talk to someone and I'm like, I really need to get off, right? And I need your help. I'm going to send something along the lines of like, hey, like, I'm really fucking horny today, and I would really like to get off, and I'd really like you to help me get off, because if I'm going to come, I want to come to you. You send that to a gentleman and he will drop every fucking thing that he is doing in that moment to make it happen, right? So don't be afraid, ladies, if you are horny, to initiate the dirty talk and set the pace and tone of it. So after I would send that, I would send something like for example, yes, I write dirty talk like it's a fucking novel, because that's the way I want it received. Like, that's the way I want to receive it. And so I'm going to put it out there, like the energy I went out there, I want to receive. So if I'm going to talk dirty, I'm going to say, like, for example, right now, I'm thinking about how it would feel to have you between my legs. I think about how wet I would be to feel you just even close to entering me. And tonight, when I fuck myself and I put the toy near myself, I'm going to think it's you every second of the way. And I am going to insert that toy inch by inch. And every time I insert it further, I'm going to think and feel like it is your dick that I'm inserting inch by inch. Now that's some fucking dope ass dirty talk. I know a bunch of you ladies, your pushies, your pussies just clenched so hard right there. And men, if you're listening, we're like, oh, well, fuck. Right? So think about that. That's dirty talk from a female gaze, right? You hear the difference. And let me put them like back to back. A man would probably say something like, hey, I'm really fucking horny. I want to fuck you so fucking bad right now. And all I can think about is my hard throbbing cock being thrusted inside of you and me pumping until I come all over you. That doesn't have any finesse, gentlemen. That doesn't have any seduction. That doesn't have a story. It doesn't have anything. It's just like in your face, very visual, just not good for women. So let's take that same thing, right? And let's put it to a female perspective. So if I was a man, I would say, hey, I've been thinking about you all fucking day. And every time I think about you, I get hard because you turn me on so much. All I can think about is lying you down on the bed and making you come as fast as possible. And the way I'm going to do that is, and then you're going to describe it word by word, gentlemen, right? If you're going to kiss her first, you're going to tell her that you're going to kiss her. I'm going to kiss your lips and I'm going to slowly trace my way down your breast, over your nipples, down to your stomach, and in between your thighs. I am going to tease you by kissing your inner thighs while slowly circling your clit with my finger. Do you hear how much better that sounds? Every woman who is listening to this podcast episode is like, yes, please. Please, motherfucking Jesus, give me that type of dirty talk. That is dirty talk presented from a female gaze. So men, it's less about you. It's more about your partner. And ladies, it is about you empowering yourself through the dirty talk as well. It's about not being afraid to initiate it. It's about the redirect, which I want to discuss on here. So say you start initiating the dirty talk and your gentleman, like, he does good at first, but then he starts to get really excited and he starts coming a little bit aggressively at you, a little bit visual at you, and you're just not ready for it. You're not ready to receive that. You're in so many fucking ways. And so I practice something that I call the redirect. And I shared this with my Instagram audience, and maybe this will help you today. So the redirect is in the middle of the dirty talk, when he is saying something that is just a little too visual or kind of pulls you out of the mood, it is a way of redirecting the conversation back to the tone and pace that you want without disrupting the conversation. So this is without being like, dude, that was too far, or like, ooh, I don't like that. Or because we don't like, especially women, it's not, you don't want to be mean to him, especially if you're in it, you don't want to lose it, right? Because when we are trying to climax, it's very easy for women to lose that orgasm. So if a man says something like just too extreme, that can pull a woman completely out of her body. And so being able to use the redirect. So if a guy said to you, I want to slam my throbbing cock into you so hard, and I want to thrust until I feel you clenching against my fucking dick with your hard, hot, wet pussy, right? Like, whoa, gentlemen. What I would do in that moment is I would redirect the conversation. So I would focus on a section of that conversation that I actually was into, right? So say that section is something about his throbbing cock, right? I'm like, ooh, the idea of a throbbing cock really turns me on. I am going to shift the focus of the conversation onto that throbbing cock. So I'm going to then respond back with, oh, that sounds so good. All I can think about is how your cock would feel throbbing inside of me. And every time you throb, it would make me clench, and it would make my toes curl, and it would make my back arch. And every time you throb, I would feel it hit against that spot that I just need it to hit. And that would make me feel so good. And I would start to like shake my legs or have my legs shake, and I would start to get closer to climaxing. So I redirected the conversation to try to engage myself, make sure I don't get pulled out of that. And also to show him, hey, yo, let's like bring it back. Right? Let's not be so wordy. So if he says something back to you, he'll probably say, literally all men will probably say something like, fuck. That's my favorite thing. My favorite thing when I dirty talk, when a guy just says, fuck, or they'll say, holy shit, or they'll say something like hot damn or god damn, right? Then you know you got them. And then that's when you start continuing with the dirty talk in order to show them this is the fucking pace we are taking. And most men are intelligent enough to be able to follow the cues of the dirty talk. But you as a woman have to be secure enough to be able to do that and be confident enough to be like, wait. My pleasure matters in this conversation as well. So I need to make sure that my ultimate goal in this conversation is to get off. And so I need to do what I need to do in order to get off, because ladies, it's really like you're almost turning yourself on during this conversation. Men who are really good at dirty talk will really recognize the shift in language, and also they will be able to like pick up what you're throwing down. There are men that are not going to get this, like they're not going to understand this. And so as a woman on the other side of that, there are two options. You can keep trying to redirect them, right? So if like the worst thing I ever had said to me once, during dirty talk was a guy said, I want to slap my cock off your tongue. And I was like, how do I even redirect that? And so I was like, oh my God. And so I stopped and I was like, yeah. I was like, I would love to put your cock in my mouth so that you could feel the warmth of my mouth sliding up and down your shaft, right? I redirected. He instantly was like, oh, okay. And like really responded with like, holy fuck. And then I was able to take control of the conversation and keep the conversation moving forward. And it's about having that confidence to be like, dude, my fucking pleasure matters in this conversation as well. And so if a guy just can't get it, like he's just not doing well, that may be a conversation that you need to have outside of it, right? Being like, hey, like I like dirty talk with you, but here are a few tips, tricks, things I would like you to do. Literally, if you are a book talker, you love books, right? You love adult fantasy, you love adult romance, go and find a chapter of a book that is really like turns you on and ask him to read that chapter. And once he reads that chapter, sit down and explain to him why it's so sexy to you. Explain to him all of the parts that turned you on. Explain to him the parts that like really made you clench or really got you wet. Like the more you communicate with your partner during dirty talk, the better the dirty talk will be. The worst thing you want to do is to allow the dirty talk to be something that one feels like a chore, two isn't like pleasurable for you, or three that you're fucking faking. You don't need to fucking fake that shit. You shouldn't be faking that shit. And so dirty talk is all about communication. If your partner is not doing it right, like even with sex, right? If I'm having sex with someone, I am now 36, so I'm a little bit more confident in like sex and my sexuality. I would have never done this in my 20s. But like if a guy isn't doing something right sexually to me, I'm going to stop and I'm going to say, hey, can you try this? Or, hey, that's not really like working for me. Can you do this? And the same applies to dirty talk. You have to be confident enough in yourself to speak up when it's going wrong. And if it feels weird to speak up in the moment, wait till afterwards and then just be like, hey, I'm sure that was like really good for you, but here are a few things that would make it better for me. And ultimately, this is a way for both of us to explore our own masturbation, right? And get each other excited for when we see each other again, or when we ultimately see each other, if like you're online dating and stuff. And so it's like being able to communicate this to your partner at the beginning is going to make a better time in general. So don't forget that like dirty talk doesn't need to be all about the man, ladies. Dirty talk gets to be about you, and you should be masturbating during dirty talk. You should be actually participating in pleasure during dirty talk. And if you aren't, if you are nervous about it, let's talk about that. If you're nervous about it, start small, right? And this is something where you can openly communicate with someone and say, hey, listen, I would love to dirty talk, but like, I'm not used to this. I'm a little shy. Like, I don't know what to say. Or some women will say like, I love to hear it, but I don't know what to say back. Right. And I will say, as far as like, ladies, if you love to hear it, but you don't know what to say, what is he saying to you that you love? Say it right back to him. It's that simple. So if he is sitting there and he is having sex with you, and let's like bring in a praise kink, right? And he is saying, oh God, you're such a good girl. You feel so good. Keep taking me in. This feels so good. You could turn around and say, just literally all you have to say is like, oh my God, you feel so good. Push deeper. I want you deeper. It's something that you're basically just repeating what he says back to you, and it's getting you more confident with saying it, right? I love to write. I love to read smut. So I am like a graphic novel when it comes to dirty talk. But if it is dirty talk, depends on the partner. There are some people who I can be a graphic novel with, right? There will be some people who you won't be able to. You'll kind of have to like do a fucking Cliff Notes version of it. It's all about just getting yourself comfortable, ladies, with having these conversations and allowing dirty talk to be something good for you, because it should be good for you. It should be pleasurable. And if it's not, then we need to fix it, right? It's not about eliminating it, because it's not the dirty talk you're unattracted to. It's the graphic nature that it ends up being presented from the male gaze. So even having conversations with your significant other of like, hey, let me show you the difference between like male's gaze and female gaze. Let me show you porn from men's perspective. Watch porn with your significant other. Hey, we're going to watch a porn directed by a man for a man, and then we're going to watch porn directed by a woman for a woman. For women, there we go, for women. And I'm going to point out the differences. And like, I want to have a conversation about that, because I need you to see what I want just as much as I need to see what you want, right? It is a equal exploration of sexuality and pleasure between two people. So if your dirty talk is really not doing it for you, try using their redirect. Try getting more assertive, ladies, with dirty talk. Don't be afraid to take fucking command. Thank you guys so much. If you love this topic, if you love like dirty talk and all sexuality, like I'm here for it. We're going to be continuing to talk about it on the podcast, but we also have the Dark Femme membership, which is a like year-long membership that focuses on stepping into your dark feminine energy and owning the fuck out of your sexuality. And we do trainings in there specifically about dirty talk, about seduction, about foreplay, about all of these things that are going to make you feel more confident to step into your sexuality. The membership is $222 a month. You can cancel it anytime and join at any time. And we're going to link it in the comments below, or the show notes below. There we go. The show notes below, so you guys can jump on the sales page and see it. And I hope you love this episode. If you know someone who needs to hear this, whether they are a man or a woman or your partner, like share this episode with them. Feel free to tag me in this episode. Feel free to send me a DM on my personal IG, which is at @the.AmandaKing, and tell me your favorite part of this episode, right? If you have any questions, reach out to me. I just want you all to get off as much as possible, and dirty talk can help with that. So let's empower ourselves to take control of talking dirty, ladies, and make it about our climax. I love you guys so much. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening to the Fierce as Fuck podcast. And some parting words for you today. Remember this: no matter how hard society pushes you down, no matter how many times you fall, as long as you get the fuck back up, they can never stop you. You are unfuckable with. You will win. Don't allow this world to dictate how you show up in it. Don't allow society to make you bend the knee. Instead, make them bend theirs. And don't forget, if you like what you heard, go on to iTunes and Spotify and leave your girl a review. Until next time, my beautiful people.